Hi, I'm Joni Marks, the three-time international best-selling author and the creator of 3 online courses for Udemy.com. And this video is a companion to my new article that I wrote for 60andMe. The title is Why Slowing Down Increases the Quality of Your Life. And we're going to explain that, because what I mean is that when you slow down, it gives you an opportunity to be in tune with your life. And it also, when you have an overly active life, you tend to be able to lead yourself right into a life crisis. And that also affects on the emotional baggage, how you could unpack it, and what your health will be after you have an emotional crisis or a physical crisis that could be avoided. So we're going to talk about that next. When a life crisis crashes into your world, it jars you out of your normal routine. This often places you in a fight or flight mode. While these experiences appear to be coming out of nowhere, there are warning signs for them everywhere. These signs are often muted by an overly active life. Even if you're not consciously aware of these signs, you surely feel their weight. That is because they are directly related to the increasing burden of the contents in your metaphorical suitcase. So, how do you get out ahead of a potential life crisis before it happens? We're going to talk about how you do that in the next slides. To get ahead of a life crisis before it happens, you will want to slow down the incessant chatter of your inner critic by slowing down an overly active life. But isn't an active lifestyle essential to our well-being, especially for those of us over 60? Yes, physical activity is essential to our quality of life. Yet in a society that raised us to believe outer activity equals inner peace, it can be difficult to process what is occurring within your inner world if you are constantly on the go. This is true when life appears to be going smoothly on the outside. In these instances, the signs of potential crisis are ignored, as in the mounting stress of resisting change. For even when life is going well, the immutable law of change is ever present. To ignore this is to create the space for unnecessary crises to emerge. Like many of my generation, I found out the hard way that an overactive life put me in a hospital. I thought things were going fine and I was handling it, but I wasn't. So what I want to show you next are ways that you can be in tune with yourself, and ways that we can show you how to perceive what is going on with you before you actually come face to face with a life crisis. When I first went through the process of consciously unpacking my emotional baggage, what amazed me was how I forgot about the stress of my emotional baggage when my life was sunny and running smoothly. In those moments, I didn't pay attention to how much I was resisting change, let alone what contents of my emotional baggage required unpacking. As a result, I ignored the signs of an oncoming life crisis that temporarily placed me in the hospital. Convinced I did not have the time to unpack my emotional baggage, and believing my constant flurry of activity would solve everything, I was running on autopilot. The way it looked for me is, rather than listen to the voice of my authentic self and slow down, I was taking the advice from my inner critic. This meant my life was speeding up. To get in tune with what was really happening to me, I had to take responsibility for what I was feeling and responsibility for taking the time to feel it. So what I'd like to do now is go through some slides to show you some ways that you will be able to do that for yourself. Taking responsibility for your emotional state is about identifying the root cause of what creates these painful, repetitive experiences in your life. This is where unpacking the contents of your emotional baggage helps you get out ahead of a life crisis. If you are engaged in constant activity, you will unconsciously push yourself to the point of emotional, mental, and physical exhaustion. This is where a life crisis shows up, forcing you to open your emotional baggage. What if unpacking your emotional baggage didn't need to be preceded by a life crisis? In order to answer this question for myself, I went back to my journal and began to write out the breakthroughs, the lessons, and the gifts I was gleaning from my most troublesome life crises. Every emotional breakdown also gives you the opportunity for emotional breakthrough. There are wonderful gifts and lessons to be learned by this crisis. And what I want to share with you next are empowering action items to help us integrate what we're learning and to feel more comfortable with this process of breakdowns and breakthroughs. Create some time to consider the following. Identify your most recent life crisis. If you have been fortunate and have not experienced one for quite some time, choose a recent experience that left you angry, frustrated, and highly uncomfortable. Now, consider the breakthroughs, gifts, and/or lessons you have gleaned from this experience. To help with this, consider new and positive ways you have changed after a life crisis. For example, a new belief, a new behavior, a new way of perceiving life. A simple way to begin is to ask yourself, what is the breakthrough this presented me with? Another question to ask is, what is the gift in this situation? I agree that after a life crisis, often it is hard to find the gift or the lesson. But part of that is because we spend so much energy pushing those feelings down that life crisis provoked in us, or we consciously spend so much energy not thinking about it. So what I'm suggesting is that we allow your feelings to come up, take some quiet time whenever this occurs. Sometimes it's the middle of doing another activity. You start to feel the feelings that life crisis evoked in you. That's the time to get your journal, sit down, and write those feelings. And thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope you have an opportunity to read the article in 60andMe. And for more information on all my online courses, please visit udemy.com and type my name, Joni Marks, in the search engine. And I so look forward to you joining me for my next episode. And I want you to remember, every morning, look into your mirror and smile at yourself and say, I am my own best friend, for I came into this world to be myself. For that I came. And thank you, and all my best.